So yeah, usually like we have the worst spot that you can have because it's before the coffee break and everyone wants us to rush. Realistically speaking, there's like two things we want to cover here today. First of all, we want to cover this topic, which sounds very marketing-y and like advertising. My main goal is actually to open a discussion. And why do I say that? Because oftentimes when we have these kind of settings, you talk, like you present something and it doesn't really resonate. So our goal is to kind of like go a level deeper. We have less slides. We focus on, let's say, a few case studies, a few examples that we really like worked on. And yeah, trying to be like as detailed as possible. Who are we? Yeah, louder, better. Who are we? Like, I'm Lucas. I'm with Shopify. I'm there like on the technical side. I'm here with Miro, like one of our like partners at MageXo. So these are like the two of us. And yeah, thanks first of all like for having us. And second of all, thanks also to my wife who let me be here because we had a newborn. So quite interesting nowadays. Let's start with something that is always like the elephant in the room. And I think it is something that we would like to address in the beginning because it's not the thing that like should stand in the way of like a proper discussion. Sometimes when we talk to merchants, and Maurice and myself, we have been in Prague the first time, I think 8 weeks ago, we ask them usually like, okay, what is it that you know about Shopify? What is it that you are thinking about Shopify? And what is it that you maybe don't know about Shopify yet? And one of the main things is like, yeah, Shopify is for the small merchants. Shopify is for the small store that sells like their flowers. We want to have this. As soon as it gets like more complicated, Shopify is not really the solution for us, and we need to move to a custom stack. And this is like really like the number one thing that we hear. Like all the time, Shopify is for small merchants. Realistically speaking, Shopify is for small merchants, but it might also be for larger ones. We see a few brands here. Some of them you might know, some of them not. But realistically speaking, all of these brands here make more than 100 million in sales each year in US dollars, which is important. And all of these have either grown with Shopify or started like migrating to Shopify at a later stage. And why? Because all of them have the same goal. We want to make money or we want to cut costs. If none of this applies to you, then this presentation is literally not the right for you. But if you want to make money or you want to cut costs, then it might make sense to listen to, let's say, what we're showing. Realistically speaking, Shopify achieves that by like aiming to invest a lot of money in the platform. These are some numbers to just show you like the overall global scale of money, but this is also like the only numbers that we are actually like showing in this slide or in this presentation, because it's something that, let's say, can show how the development was, but it shouldn't be something that is like making your decision dependent on like moving to Shopify or not. We're actually here because we want to focus on this region. So everyone knows maybe that Shopify is like a global company. We have started in Canada, but realistically speaking, we don't want to just stay in Canada. Like we grew to Germany or the DACH region 4 years ago. Maurice and myself have been the first reps locally on the ground that spoke German. And it was like a quite big of a mindset shift of like moving from English to German, trying to understand that the translation is not a localization, trying to understand that there's a difference between translating and localizing. But also trying to understand of like what are the first steps to actually bring in a software into a market that is definitely different. Why is this region, when I say this region, Czech Republic, but also Slovakia, really important or interesting? First of all, it's a growing e-commerce landscape. So we see like a lot of stores here, we see a lot of like movement in the e-commerce world, and there's a lot of movement overall when it comes to this. This paired with their strong entrepreneurial mindset is something that is usually like the typical ICP for Shopify, where Shopify focuses and says like, listen, this makes sense because people need to take a risk in order to grow, but people also need to try to mitigate risk in order to, let's say, not have a fallout in the business. This part is something that we have seen, especially 8 weeks ago when we have been here the first time. There's currently a very fragmented tech stack. When I say fragmented, I mean we just need to look on the right there, everyone. We see Shopify, we see Magento, we see Adobe Commerce, we see Miracle. We see a lot of custom solutions as well that are not on this poster. But why do I say so? Because oftentimes a problem was there that needed to be solved. So we hired an agency in the region that built us something. this solution evolved and grew, so we had to build further on it, and the complexities became bigger and bigger. So like usually when you have like a solution that is custom maintained, it requires a lot of work. You want to change something, it's not that easy because you have interdependencies here and there. So you start, let's say, increasing the size of the balloon, but the balloon is not that like quick when it comes to moving. And I think the topic of today is actually like this opportunity for growth, especially through the expansion to certain regions. And this is where Shopify started. So if you are not into growing or cutting costs, then again, we are coming here. And I think like the previous presentation showed nicely that the DACH market is huge, big, has a chance of like expanding, and there's like a lot of buying power. But you need to have like a good setup in order to actually capitalize on that. And that's why we have like the, let's say, quick rundown of like how you would be able to maybe achieve something like that with Shopify, with some insights, especially because Shopify started globally, but it's still a local company, meaning in every country of the world you need to have like local payment methods, you need to have local shipping methods, you need to offer, let's say, the local differences, because else people might not buy. In Czech Republic, that's like pickups, local pickups or cash on delivery. If you don't have it, you're kind of like out. In Germany, it's like offering PayPal, offering invoice, offering actually DHL or Hermes is like delivery companies, because else you might not reach the rural areas. You start with here packing or parcel boxes. It's not a big thing. It's literally not a big thing in DACH. Then we had like the example of like how do you actually do that? Like when you want to expand, you have a custom setup, and custom setup can be everything, but usually you have like one instance. You duplicate this instance, now you have two. Now you do like the same stuff that you did in the first instance, and you have to work it. The work is not 100% more, but usually we see like 30 to 40% more per instance, because it still requires some manual maintenance. Then you start a third market, because DACH region is apparently 3 markets. So now we have 3 instances. Each market requires 30% more, meaning overall speaking like this, the complexity just increases step by step by step. And every one of you knows the European Union is a quite big zone. So if you want to expand to each of these markets, which is quite common scenario, then you also realize that 27 times whatever the added risk is in a custom setup is a lot of complexity and a lot of cost. Shopify can tackle that with something that called Shopify Markets, where you try to aim from one backend to internationalize. We're not jumping into the details here, like because Shopify Markets is something that can help, but realistically speaking, if you feel like one of the challenges, like we have multiple setups, we have multiple countries, we want to expand there or there, and this is an issue, then approach us afterwards when we have enough time and we can jump into the details, because for us it's important to understand where the challenge lies and also how to solve it without jumping into like Shopify is the solver for everything, because that's literally not what we are trying to do. Like I'm not trying to be someone who's preaching here like, hey, buy it because we are a sponsor, or buy it because we are cool. But realistically more of like, okay, you have a problem, you have a challenge, you can solve it, and this is the cost implications, then it might be a good solution. This includes also the cross-border functionality that comes with the store, but everything is like 80-20 approach, so that we really aim for like high level of standardization with a level of customization, so that you still can try to keep as lean as possible. Don't trust me. Scan this, check it out yourself, make your own picture, like read what actual people said, not just a Shopify guy who's coming to Prague and tries to sell something, but literally listen to it, read it. There's comments of people, there's like feedback, there's questions, there's maybe also like good points for like questions for us that you can pick up and say, listen, how did they actually manage this? So there we are like free to talk about it. But there's 2 cases that I would like to focus on, because I was working on them, and I was working on them deeply, and that's why there's some level of detail I can share, but also something that might be interesting for some of the people here in the room. The first one is Westwing. For those of you who don't know it, it's a big company in Germany, has approximately 500 million euros in revenue. They migrated to Shopify last year, so like all of their sites. And what is important, they had a custom stack. So they had a fully custom platform, 200 in-house developers, a lot of costs involved with that, and also a high complexity. And just to give you a bit of a number, when we approached them, they said if they want to tackle a new market, they need 6 months. 3 months of figuring out how we can do it, 2 months of trying to complain like how I can do it, and 1 month of actually implementing. So it was like a lot back and forth, and especially like fixing and trying to understand project management involved to actually do something, because the system was simply locking them away. And if you look at 500 million euros in revenue, if you look at the scale of how many markets they already had, you can understand the complexities, loyalty systems, delivery providers, ERP systems, all of these integrations that come into play. All of this times whatever amount of markets you have, it's adding additional complexity. They moved to Shopify because they first of all wanted to cut cost. This they achieved. I think the latest number was something around like 2 million that they cut in cost each year, plus like the goal of like being quicker. They moved to 12 countries in 12 months, so one country in 1 month, and they still keep going on. So the expansion to Europe especially is like going on. And it's not like one of the cases that just happens, but it's actually something that we see more often. But the second case, and this is something that is interesting because I've seen it from both sides. So before I worked at Shopify, I actually worked at Sennheiser. It's like this audio company in Germany that is also, we can consider it like the typical medium-sized company in Germany, let's say 50 to 150 million in revenue, quite old processes, a team of white guys being in the leadership. They try to make the decisions because 50 years ago it worked, and now it should also work the next 50 years ago in the future. The processes were old. There was a lot of, let's say, process involved where you would question like, okay, who came up with that idea and why didn't we cut it out? So when I joined there as a student, I saw this nightmare. I saw like how it can look like when you have a custom stack. You want to expand to each country in the world, and every morning you need to check if the prices are still up to date because they might have been updated automatically by something at night. So they face like the same issue as majority of merchants when they want to expand. And realistically speaking, they had the choice of like staying with the custom solution, building everything further from scratch. They didn't. They selected Shopify in the process. Also, I was luckily involved in that, so I had like some saying. They were building like a proof of concept in a relatively short period of time, and then they started to see like, can that system really support my needs? And what happened is that they started like launching markets with Shopify relatively quick. So we're talking 8 weeks instead of before it was 8 months. Plus they cut the cost significantly. And this is not one of the cases, but this is like one of multiple cases. All of the brands that you saw in the beginning, they're international brands, and they're also international brands that actually sell. And they sell not just in one country, but in multiple countries. So if it's a topic for you and you want to expand and grow and see, then approach us afterwards. And I think then we can have like a chat and see what works, what doesn't. And even if you say, I'm very happy with my current system, everything is working fine, but I still want to expand, still approach us. We still have some tips and tricks, what works great in certain regions. If it's payment providers, if it's something else. And I think this is literally really like the message of today. I don't know, like time-wise, I think I would go give it to Miro, but we had also like I don't think the video is working. No, it seems not. So one important thing, and then I give it over to you, is that Shopify in general as a platform is cool, but a platform itself is never strong. A platform is only strong when you have local partners like payment providers, etc., but also local partners who actually do the job. And that's why we also have MageXo there, who is a local partner here in the region, who is helping us. We're working on many projects together in the region, also bigger merchants. And I think it's super interesting to hear what made them consider including something like Shopify in their solution stack, especially considering where they're coming from, but also to just listen to some of the examples that we worked on together. And then we can have like an open discussion.
Super. Thank you, Lucas, for coming here to Prague and talking about Shopify and how Shopify is seeing Czech Republic as a market. I think it's very interesting to see that even a big company from Canada is focusing on our market and is interested in our market. As Lucas said in the beginning, we are not here just selling Shopify or selling MageXo as a services. We would like to open a discussion if Shopify is a good fit for your company, and also if you are going with the Shopify, you are going to need an implementation partner. Historically, we've been in contact with companies that expand radically and experience quite a good growth over the Europe. One of the best examples is Dr. Max, that is actually one of the biggest pharmacy in Eastern Europe, and we are collaborating with them for many years. Another brand that we are very familiar with and we are trying to push them to growth and expansion is Kofla Marketplace, that is currently expanding radically in the Balkan area. And we also have been part of Jim Beam in the early years, where we help them to kind of set the path of the company and how they are doing right now. Just some numbers. We have around 60 in-house developers in our agency. That makes us one of the biggest strictly e-commerce agency in Czech Republic. We've been in the market for 13 years, and we make around 3 million euros in revenue every year. Talking about the partnership with Shopify, we are one of the two agencies in Czech Republic that is certified Shopify Plus partner. Honestly, this was a big deal for us because we started doing Shopify only 4 years ago, but only in those 4 years ago we managed to actually perform better with the projects and bring more clients and show the value of Shopify to those clients. So this is kind of like the badge that we are really proud of in MageXo. This means that we are a very certified team. We have more than 15 Shopify certifications. I think this is the biggest number in Czech Republic, meaning that the team is really knowledgeable in the solution and they know what they're doing while we are migrating your project to Shopify. We have more than 20 Shopify projects and more than 5 Shopify Plus clients. The Shopify Plus clients are the biggest one, but let's talk about why we actually choose Shopify as a platform to offer to our clients, because historically we've been very present in the Magento area or Adobe Commerce area, but a few years ago we saw the opportunity to actually implement Shopify as a solution for our clients. And this is for several reasons. As Lucas said, the market is demanding agility, speed, and scalability. And these things often cannot be done on a platform or a solution that is outdated or is custom. We saw the opportunity that clients actually want to expand and grow much faster without dealing with every single feature, with every single possibility in the expansion. Another reason was that a lot of clients actually were seeking a cloud-native platform with faster return of investments. This is also something connected to the custom mindset or a platform that is not developing the features fast enough. Shopify with a research and development budget can actually make some features much faster than the agency. And this happened several times that we actually started developing some kind of a feature for a client. But guys from Shopify said, it's okay, you don't really have to use the resources of the client for the feature. We are going to implement it in the next quarter. And this is really beneficial for the client because they can actually rely on the platform. They can rely that the platform is listening to them. And we saw that this could be a nice potential for implementing Shopify and for offering Shopify for the clients. And as we're trying to kind of attack the myth of Shopify being just for small brands, with the Shopify Plus and with all the functionalities in the B2B segment and generally in the enterprise, we see Shopify Plus as very emerging and a strong contender in the big segment, but also for enterprise e-commerce companies. Our evolution. As I said, we are coming from strong Magento and Adobe Commerce background. What we did to be specialized in Shopify, we actually trained and created a Shopify development team that is dedicated to all these projects. They are not doing anything else but Shopify. We created migration pathways. This means that since the technology stack is so fragmented in Czech Republic. People are migrating from custom solutions. Companies are migrating from solutions that are native in Czech. We created pathways and solution how to actually make this migration easier for the clients, and overall kind of support the mindset of Shopify to scale and grow rapidly. And also, while creating these pathways, we try to maintain the mindset and the strength from the companies that we actually developed on on Magento or Adobe Commerce. Currently, we are a total hybrid agency, so we are still offering other solutions, and we are trying actually to fit the solution to the client and not the solution to the client. So if it's not a good fit for Shopify, we are going to tell you that. And it happens several times. For example, for companies from Slovakia, it's currently a not good fit to migrate to Shopify. There are also so big enterprise companies in very specific segments that are not really good fit for Shopify. But we as an agency, as a solution partner, we are not going to push Shopify all the way, but also say it might be a good fit to reconsider different platform. We try to help the brand scale smartly and grow globally. I think there is a huge proof of concept in our brands that we work with, that we actually have this mindset in the agency, and we are trying to push this mindset to every project to grow and expand globally, to actually look after countries that are behind the borders and not just to focus on Czech Republic. We have a use case here, Fixed Zone. We migrated to Shopify a few months ago. The result now is that they have unified B2C stores. They have dedicated B2B portal. Both of these things are very important because before it was fragmented B2B stores that were not unified in one administrative, but right now they're under Shopify Plus and they're ready to expand. And also they're ready to expand in their B2B segment, so they can easily just translate and create a new e-shop and move to the different country with Shopify Plus.
I think also like to add here, like Fixed is a very interesting website when you just check it out yourself. So go to Fixed and check out what they did. So they built like a configurator case where you actually have a 3D model that you can project on each of your table, and then just play around with it, turn it around, and like see it in real time. It's one of these cases where like 80-20 again comes in, and like the 80% of the standard is allowing the 20% of customization, so that ideally you have a partner then who is like building that for you. And yeah, just check it out. I found it very cool when I saw it the first time, and especially when you can play around with it. Imagine you're buying a bike or a sofa and you can place the sofa directly in the room. It makes it easier, the entire purchasing experience easier, so yeah.
Yeah, I kind of lost my thought now. And basically the results with Shopify Plus, and that we see with many clients, it's very beneficial to have one system for B2C and B2B under one roof in Shopify Plus. There is seamless international expansion, depends if you want to go through markets or through Shopify Plus expansion stores. You can expand really fast, and the time to market is around 2 to 3 months to another country. And you have the total control over the brand experience, the growth on Shopify. I guess if there are some questions, we have the break coming, so we can just talk about it during the break, or we can just, if there are some questions, you can shoot now, or we can talk about it during the coffee break. Yeah?
Okay, I have a few questions on you. So the first question maybe for Lukas is, do you recognize any difference between DACH and Czech e-commerce landscape?
No, not at all. No, like there's a big difference. I think like if you compare like Czech to Germany, or let's say DACH in general, Czech is way more modern. When I say way more modern, like you use cards everywhere. Like when you go to Germany, like you will, as a Czech person, you will be quite surprised how often you need to use cash. When it comes to the e-commerce landscape in Germany, we have had a similar situation 4 years ago. Many custom solutions, many local providers, talking like Shopware, for instance, that offered some level of standardization out of the box, and the rest was like the custom build that you put on it. Oftentimes then you had like the backbone, and let's say after 3 or 4 years it kind of like vanished. The biggest difference is like payment providers. So PayPal, as we heard earlier, is in Germany like the number one. So if you're offering goods below, let's say $100 or 100 euros in revenue or an AOV, then PayPal shares approximately 60 to 70%. Then the next is usually Klarna with 10 to 15%, and then the rest is like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and sometimes Invoice. If your AOV is above 150, that's like usually the tipping point, then the PayPal share increases significantly. So we're talking about 70% PayPal, Klarna with, let's say, usually 20 to 25%, and a few customers who offer the invoice process, they will then offer invoice as well. It's very manual. It's like what Germans love. So you get like your invoice, you pay it manually, you enter it. That's why like there's a difference. Whereas in Czech, you have cash on delivery, you have packaging boxes, you go to a box, you pay by card. This is all that we don't really have in Germany. So focusing like the local payment providers is the number one. Focusing on like the delivery methods is I think this the second one that kind of like differs the e-commerce landscape. Plus, Germany is in the middle of Europe. Czech is close to it, but Germany is even more central, meaning for German companies it's kind of like obligatory also to expand to other countries simply because it's cheaper to send to Prague from Dresden than from Dresden to Munich or from Dresden to Berlin. So yeah, I think these are like the biggest differences.
Okay, thank you. The second one is, what if a relatively small company wants to go headless but still wants to save money? Is Shopify still the answer?
I think like headless and little money is not matching. It doesn't matter if it's Shopify or not. Like headless and having a small budget is something that we would always challenge and question. And it's like, despite the fact that Shopify is only for small merchants, this myth that we hear, the second one is like, I want to go headless and I need it because of X, Y, and Z. Realistically speaking, whoever asked that question, come to us after, we can evaluate the case. And in 90% of the cases, I'm sure that you don't need to go headless for what you want to achieve. There's examples of sites that we can also share afterwards where you look at it, it's not headless, but it looks like it's headless. And I think this is important. So yeah, if you have little budget and you consider headless, I would challenge if this thought is correct.
Okay, and last one, will the basic version of Shopify ever have the option to select delivery method in the cart process before checkout?
Was delivery method in the cart?
Yes.
It's the map, you know, the one of the pickup points.
I mean, you can already currently select the pickup point in the cart. So you can kind of like show the pickup locations in the cart process and then go to the checkout. So that is already possible. But if you want to do it in the checkout, then currently it's the Shopify Plus one.
Okay. So any other question?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys.